Florida State's administration recently sent out a letter to boosters seeking financial help and promoting their program. At the time that it came out, I decided to stay away, but recently changed my mind to take a look at it. And I wish I had went with my original notion and never, ever wavered.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by FanDuel, where the Winter Olympic Games are headed for a great finish, and there is no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. We're going to be discussing Florida State's place in the ACC. Do they have a chance to get out of this middling level in a bad conference? How long could it take? What are some of the teams that are passing Florida State? That is later in the show. We're going to be discussing Florida State's inability with the letter they sent out to read the room, meaning not just for Florida State fans, but college football, big box issues. They didn't get it based on that letter. And to start the show, I just want to give my thoughts on the overall letter before I dive in and read some of it. And here goes. Florida State wants to get donations up. They were down last year considerably. And I understand that that is their job. But you do not, repeat, do not ask for a bunch of money while also in the same letter giving yourself a pat on the back multiple times about the good leadership, this and that, when it is obvious that the vast majority of Florida State fans are down on the administration, are down on the athletic administration, are down on football. You're asking for money and in the same letter, patting yourself on the back. Why would you do that? To that end, I will prove it as I read some of this letter. And I'm still shocked at how they did it, because the letter in general is fine, but they just kept nudging you. Hey, we're doing good. We're doing good. Really? Florida State is 2-10 and 5-7 over the last 2 years and has not won a single road game. Not one. But you're doing a good job. That makes no sense. So after the basic opening line and the basics of, hey, thank you, we're Florida State, we appreciate it and all that stuff, this is the first paragraph that matters. And I'm going to read several, but this is the first one that matters. College football is moving toward a professional model centered on revenue sharing. Student athletes are now compensated beyond traditional scholarships while remaining students first. Florida State is fully aligned with the evolution and operates with a disciplined, cohesive plan across our football operation as the industry continues to implement changes to stabilize the sport. Now, I'm going to comment on each paragraph as we go through, and this one's pretty straightforward. They're accepting in this paragraph that, hey, revenue sharing is here. Student athletes are still students first. I don't buy that, not a football. But in general, most sports, that's true. Probably like 17, 18 out of the 20-some of most schools. That's pretty true. But football, definitely, it's more football-centric at every school, FSU included. And on top of that, they're aligned with the evolution and the operations, basically, that's going on. But at the same time, remember that, because they're going to counter that in their own letter here in just a minute. Several national issues still require resolution, including aligning the football and academic calendars. And here comes the big one. Establishing compensation guardrails. Let me say that again. Establishing compensation guardrails to stabilize the market. Standardizing contracts administered through conference offices, and enacting federal legislation to protect the NCAA and its enforcement bodies. A codified process for agent certification, which we have in college basketball, is absolutely vital for college football. I am actively collaborating with my peers to advocate for these improvements while protecting student athletes. Out of everything else I'm going to read today, I'm going to spend the most time on this because it makes my head want to explode. I have so many different tangents that I could go on. It's not even fun. And to be clear, this is not in any way, shape, or form a Florida State only issue. This is the collusion of athletic departments and all the different companies trying to make money off athletes. Just straight up collusion. Florida State is no different. They want to establish compensation guardrails. Good luck when the players are not employees. You will get sued into oblivion. So even saying that out loud is hilarious. Stabilize the market. It is an open market. It's just the way it is. Standardizing contracts, that's more the same. Administered through conference offices? No. The players are in a free market. If you are not going to make them employees, all of that is just not going to happen. It's not. And then in enacting federal legislation to protect the NCAA and its enforcement bodies. The NCAA hasn't enforced anything in years. They are an absolutely toothless institution. So bringing that up, I have no idea why you're doing that in a booster letter, but Florida State did. Anyway, to make this all very, very simple, Florida State, like all the other schools, doesn't want to pay out money to student athletes because if they're employees, they're going to make 5 to 10 times as much as they are now, just literally. And they want to avoid it. It's not realistic. And I thought that paragraph was hilarious because it will never come to fruition. Over the past several months, we have taken important steps to position Florida State football for sustained success. Now, before I read the rest of this paragraph, how many of you really believe that? Over the past several months, we have taken important steps to position Florida State football for sustained success. Well, first off, you would need to win more than 7 games over 2 years. What are the steps that you're taking now because you've absolutely fallen on your face, like you shouldn't be in this spot to begin with? This includes restructuring the program and hiring a general manager and a director of player personnel, reflecting a professional approach to roster management, contract oversight, and player development. Additional staff support will follow. With the backing of Seminole boosters and the battle's end, we are executing a clear long-term vision. Okay, a couple of things. Number one, it's great that they're hiring people that they like, but every school is doing this same thing. They make it sound like they're cutting edge. Let's be clear. Florida State has been very reactionary since they stopped being the team that was like one of a handful that really used the portal. When the portal first came out, Florida State was cutting edge. But since then, what have they done that's cutting edge football-wise? I really don't know if there's anything. And you're not always going to be that team, but don't act like this is a major thing because every school does it. Secondly, the backing of the Seminole boosters and the battle's end, that's great. And again, you just keep taking very small shots. Hey, give us money, give us money. I'll talk about that more at the end. Now, the next paragraph. As revenue sharing expands, you will hear more from our leadership, coaches, and staff about these opportunities. Frequently asked questions with additional information about the model and our structure is linked below. Okay, this I respect. Out of all the paragraphs in here, this is what I respect the most. They're not going to lie to you. Straight up, we need more money and we're going to hit you up even if we basically annoy you. We're not going to lie about it. It's just straight up. We need the money. We're behind. We're over $400 million in debt as an athletic department. I have no problem with that. So bravo for taking the guts to say that. I will give the Noles some credit. When we come back, I'm going to finish up with this and talk a little bit about not reading the room. I'm going to go back to one of those other paragraphs that I started with. That is next, right here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed, where hiring just isn't about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates to match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your job posting, with Indeed, they will match you with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, the skills, the location, the experience, whatever it may be, they're going to be there for you. And if you're hiring, do you want to be spending extra time out of your day instead of making money looking for that perfect candidate? Instead, you'd rather be working through your normal job while Indeed does it for you to find the right people. And here's the really interesting part. In the minute or so I've been talking about Indeed, per their data, 27 people have been hired around the world through Indeed. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. You will even get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you with your premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. FanDuel is also a sponsor of today's show. The Winter Games are officially here. And if you're anything like us, you're locking in events you only get to see on the biggest stage once every 4 years. The Winter Olympics is great, but it is only here for a short time. And that's why you should follow the Winter Games on FanDuel. It just makes sense, from the medal counts to all the extra individual awards and everything else that goes on. You can get an angle on different things with FanDuel. So make sure you check it out and stay connected to all the different action. and the drama, whether it's speed skating, whether it's luge, whether it's anything else that's going on, you have an opportunity to check it out with FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. And if you want to stay locked in with everything with the Locked On Podcast Network, check out the Everydayer Club down in the description below. There is a link describing what it is, but here is the number one factor. If you take your podcast on the go ever, whether it's at the gym, the grocery store, the drive to work, whatever it may be, I'm an audio guy. All the podcasts I listen to, I do on audio. $5 a month or $50 a year. You can get your podcast without any ads. That's right, $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. No ads. Check it out in the description below. Now, let's go back into the not so great letter, in my opinion, and finish up, and then I'll give my overview. While the financial landscape has evolved, our mission has not. Florida State athletics exist to change lives by developing student athletes academically, personally, and competitively, while upholding the values that define being a Seminole. We remain committed to ensuring all 21 of our teams can compete and recruit at the highest level. That's just not true. They haven't, and this is something I'm going to talk about in broader, but they haven't fundraised enough. Ironically, this is a fundraising letter, and they haven't set themselves up long-term because of the contract they signed with the grant of rights, several other things. That's just a false statement. But I do respect that they try to talk about all 21 teams, so that's good. Final thing here. None of this is possible without you. You are a central part of the Knowles family, and we are deeply grateful for the trust, belief, and partnership. We are confident in our direction, encouraged by our leadership, and focused on excellence as we move into 26 and beyond. Now, you notice they said encouraged by our leadership. There's that point again, patting themselves on the back. Again, they can't read the room here. There is no place that I go, whether it's media members, whether it's talking to fans, whether it's talking to people on X, whether it's communicating with people around the world. Florida State is just not in a spot where they should be bragging about the administration. They just shouldn't. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure why they think any differently. Now let's look at it broadly. I talked about at the beginning how Florida State wasn't reading not only their own room, but some of the bigger issues. That paragraph that I hammered early on in the show, just want to revisit that to make sure you understand why I brought it up. There is no chance in the world you're putting the genie back in the bottle with NIL or it not, keyword, not being an open market with spending. Zero chance. Why are they trying to say that's going to happen? Let me give it, I've talked about this before, but like they're talking about Congress and stuff, they're kind of hinting at government helping out. No congressman's going to sign off on the local state whichever state they're in, not being able to pay more. And if you don't believe me, go look at the state of Tennessee. They're like trying to fight the entire NCAA right now about they're not going to have any guardrails. So you certainly don't have everybody on the same page anyway. You just simply have to find a way to get more money despite being terrible right now as a football program. I don't know how you do that. I'm not saying I have the solution, but guardrails with NIL, sure, you can maybe get it. And I would agree with this, that agents need to be licensed. It is in basketball. It's not in football. Okay. Beyond that, you might be able to get that done in some time. But beyond that, what are you going to be able to do? It's a free market. Why did they even bring that up in a booster letter? It's really confusing to me, and I just don't see why they thought it would be productive. To that end, they still did ask for the money, and they need the money. I'm cool with it, but to put that in the middle of it, doesn't that sound a little counterproductive, a little bit unusual? It at least did to me. And to finish up on this point, not reading the room, there are a lot of different things in college football that are unfair, but it's always been unfair. Look, there isn't a program in the country that hasn't been buying kids in some way, shape, or form forever. But publicly, all of them claim to be student athlete first. They don't cheat. They do everything perfect. Everybody lies. Florida State's no different. You don't have to put that kind of stuff in the booster letter about we support all 21 programs, making them national contenders and all that stuff. You didn't have to put that in there. I do respect, talking about other sports other than like football, but like You haven't even done well at that. So why would we believe you about other sports anyway? And then finally, again, not reading the room. Florida State fans don't respect, at least the ones that I know, what's going on with the administration. So why did you continually pat yourself on the back? What was the reason for that? I literally don't know one person that is happy with the Florida State Athletic Department. Not one. And I'm lower on the totem pole than most of the people that go onto my YouTube page. If you don't like negativity, don't go read the comments there. Holy moly. If you think I'm negative, I'm not in the stratosphere of what some of the things are that get posted on there. So it's interesting that so many people signed off on this. And to be clear, it says Michael Alford at the end of this. He's just a spokesperson. He's the person who puts his name on the paper, but it really should be Michael Alford and the Florida State administration. He's going to take the blunt of the punishment for this letter, I'm sure, but I don't think it's a very good letter, even though there are some certain parts that are okay and some honesty about, hey, we're going to bug you a lot. We want the money. I get it. No problem with that. But some of this other stuff, they're so out of bounds, I can't even put it in perspective. Not even close. To that end, it's also why I put the third segment the way I did. We're going to discuss how Florida State has fallen off, how booster donations, I believe it's like 10.9%. It was down last year, somewhere around there. And one of the reasons is they're just losing, and they're also losing their place in the ACC. That is next right here on Locked On Seminoles.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukelage and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Now let's discuss Florida State in the Atlantic Coast Conference. A couple of notes, although painful, they need to be brought up. 7 total wins as a program over the last 2 years, no road wins, and obviously completely unproductive in the league. But this year is very unique. Think about the league from last season to this. What's the most important position? Quarterback. Just about everybody lost a quarterback, it seems like. Virginia and Duke lost quarterbacks. Miami lost quarterback. Florida State lost its quarterback. There are only a handful that are any good that are coming back. JKS, Sagapolatele at Cal. He's a dude. We'll talk about him in a second. Kevin Jennings at SMU, really good player, be a third-year starter. The quarterback up there at Pittsburgh, Florida State fans know him better than they would like. But outside of that, is there anybody coming back that you're excited about? Not really. The league is even down by ACC standards. And to that end, all the following is a fact. Talking to media, talking to other people on the Locked On Network, anybody that covers the Florida State Seminoles in any way, shape, or form, because they cover Duke, because they cover NC State, or anybody else. I have not spoken to one person, media-wise, that thinks Florida State is in any way, shape, or form a threat in the ACC. No, I'm not saying I'm any different, but I thought there would be somebody that would believe in it. And now that the Malzahn thing has happened with him stepping down, it's Gus's privilege to do so. Congrats to him on a long career. There's even less, because I've had people text me. I've had people ask me about it, coming on their shows. Is Florida State going to be able to do anything? Like, they think it's even going to be worse. I actually think it's going to be better, but I digress. The point is still the same. Nobody really respects it, and the fans in general don't either. I'm seeing predictions 8-10 and stuff like that. I'm a little bit more depressed about that than I really thought I would be, because I thought somebody would have a reason. And here's the only thing I can think of for why teams won't really pass Florida State up again this year. They're going to be able to score some points. I'm way higher on Ashton Daniels than most. And I also think that The one thing that Mike Norvell can do is call plays. He's done a pretty good job of it, except for when he doesn't do a good job of building the roster. Then nobody's a good play caller. Of course, the last 2 years, they have struggled. They have not adapted to the all the stuff the letter was talking about, to the money in college football. We'll see, but I think they're going to pass the football a little better, etc. But even so, I think they're going to lose a lot of close games, high 20s to low 30s, because I have no faith in the defense. And that brings me to this. Out of the following teams, how many do you think Florida State will finish ahead in the 2026 ACC Conference? SMU, Clemson, Miami, NC State, North Carolina, Cal, Pittsburgh, and let's throw in James Franklin and Virginia Tech as well. Maybe one or two of them I could see, possibly. And you're probably like, Brian, why'd you bring up Cal? They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And they also brought in Tosh Lupoy, the defensive coordinator at Oregon. He used to work under Saban at Bama. He's been around. He's a good coach, elite recruiter, brought some guys from Oregon with him. I could see even them being a dark horse contender in the ACC, depending on their schedule. I haven't really looked at it. But SMU, I think, is the second team. Miami will be the favorite. And after that, there's 5 or 6 teams that are all kind of jumbled in there. NC State probably comes to mind. Cal. Those would be the other ones I would think about. NC State's going to score. They got some offensive firepower. But the league is terrible in general. I mean, it really is. And I still don't think that Florida State's any better than about 7th or 8th. And that brings up the final point to conclude the show on and talk about this for a couple minutes. If Florida State does go below 500 again this year, I mean, it's so hard to predict what they're going to do week to week. It's difficult. I get it. But if they do go below 500, from a perception standpoint, do you think Florida State will definitively be behind Clemson, SMU, maybe it's Pittsburgh, maybe it's Cal? Which programs, like, are they in the top 5 perception-wise if they go 5-7 again? I'm going to say no. Not being a top 5 ACC team when the league is down and it's already, at best, barely a major P4 program because it's just not producing the way it used to. What does that mean for Florida State? Does it mean they will actually pull the plug on Norvell? By the way, as a reminder, I've talked about this a few times. I'm going to bring it up over and over and over again. It's a unique schedule this year. They're going to have to be good out of the gate because you get New Mexico State, okay. But SMU comes to town week 2. You get a bye. And then after that 3rd week bye, you play who? Who is it? In Tuscaloosa, the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you start 1-2, do you lose the team? Who knows? They're going to have a couple of lower end games and stuff like that they can win. Like they got Central Arkansas, Norvell's alma mater. But after that game, the 3-game stretch that will define his career begins. Chandler Morris is gone for Virginia. But that staff did a really good job last year. They lost a running back, they lost some other good players. It's at Doak. But you better win that game. You're going to need to sustain some momentum. You need to go to build some momentum because the next 2 are a Friday night game at Louisville. You're not going to tell me that Norvell is going to outcoach Brom. I'm not going to hear it. And then secondarily, the week after that, they go to Miami prior to a bye. What happens to coaches that are going to get fired at the end of the year when they get smoked by their rival right before a bye? Could they get the axe out and fire Norvell? Let me say that again. Could Norvell be fired midseason? It's possible. If you start 2-5, if you lose to SMU, Alabama, Virginia, Louisville, and Miami, oh yeah, you could absolutely get the axe. Here's my question though. With that same administration that I was hammering earlier in the show, are you, not the administration, but are you a fan, whether it's a booster, a alum, whatever it may be, are you in any way, shape, or form comfortable leaving the next decision for the head coach, assistant coaches, and all that stuff up to the current powers to be? And to be clear, and fair to Mr. Alford, he's just one piece in the cog. His name just gets signed on the paper. I say no, but they really need to clean house is really what needs to happen. But I don't know who wants to come and take the job. Again, they're over $400 million in debt. This is going to be really intriguing this year. They are rooting for Florida State to win every year, obviously, but there is no year they want them to win more than this one because they don't know what to do because they really don't want to deal with that contract. He would still be owed over $40 million after this year, from what I hear. Not good. So it's going to be interesting. And they're probably not sure what they would do if they did fire him, because that's saying that you're not doing a good job. You notice again, they patted themselves on the back several times during that letter, as I brought up. But firing him is also admitting fault. They may not have a choice, because here's the last question I'm going to bring up. Will the Florida State fans, if FSU does start 2-5, and again, New Mexico State, Central Arkansas, if you don't win those games, we're having a totally different conversation. But we've seen some weird things at FSU in the last decade. Anyway, if you start 2-5, especially if like Miami drops the hammer on you and you go into the bye week and they don't fire Norvell, will Florida State fans show up to Doak in earnest? I mean, it's one of the most loyal fan bases. I'll give you that. Or will the boycott truly officially begin and asking for everybody's heads? I don't know. It's an intriguing thing. If I had to lean into it, I'd say no, because a lot of people just go for the social aspect of it. It's part of their life. A lot of them live within an hour of campus. I understand. But I bet there is at least a reduction. What do you think and why? Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. If you're on Apple, please leave us a review. Please make sure that you like and subscribe no matter where you get your pods: Podbean, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and of course on YouTube. This has been Locked On Seminoles.